I gave a letter to the postman. He put it in his sack. Bright and early next morning, he brought my letter back. She wrote upon it, return to sender, address unknown.
Stamp unveilings are important events for the post office and for stamp collectors. While stamp unveilings give the public their first look at new stamps, collectors get a first day of issue postmark, which is, of course, available only on the first day that a stamp is available. For countries outside the U.S., it's important to unveil stamps in the U.S. to cash in on the thousands of American collectors. And that's the idea behind our next story, Stampfest '96, which was attended by more than 27,000 people. And be sure to note the surprise ending. It's a big day at the South Street Seaport. Hosted by the U.S. Stamp Dealers Association and the Intergovernmental Philatelic Corporation, Stampfest '96 brought stamp dealers from all over the world together with stamp collectors. Of course, you couldn't have a Stampfest without the U.S. Postal Service.
The U.S. does a great job promoting the stamp collecting hobby. They have upcoming ceremonies. The Stampers is one. The Bugs Bunny stamp will be another. IGPC represents foreign countries, about 70 altogether. And some of our different government clients are here today. Their stamps are available here at the show, and they're unveiling stamps on stage as part of their new 1996 postal programs. One
of the stamps unveiled on stage was from the small country of Palau, who saluted the U.S. military with a stealth bomber stamp. And while CBS-FM helped the karaoke singers along, stamp collectors got a chance to see what they came for, stamps.
It's the first time that the stamp trade has gone out to the public on a general basis, open up to anybody in the area just to see what stamp collecting is all about. It's really a departure from the traditional ways of exposing people to stamp collecting.
The Duke of Flatbush, Duke Snider, was on hand to help move some Sandy Koufax stamps. And there were Star Wars stamps, John Lennon stamps, endangered species stamps, and stamps, stamps, stamps.
It's a non-polluting hobby. It's a hobby that one can do with his children. It's an inexpensive hobby, and it's something that relates to other interests. Perhaps if you have a child who's a soccer player, you can collect stamps with soccer players. You like animals, dogs on stamps, cats on stamps. It spreads throughout the whole interest.
It's been a hobby of mine for over 40 years, and I enjoy it. You'll learn a lot about different countries in the world.
While disc jockey cousin Brucie got on stage to do the Macarena, the momentum was building for the climax of the day, the unveiling of the new international stamps of the king, Elvis Presley.
This man is a sociological phenomenon, but he's not only an American phenomenon anymore. He did belong to America once, the United States, but now Elvis Presley is universal. Elvis Presley belongs to the world. His dream, his feelings, his emotions, his music, worldwide. It's a common bond and a common language. Elvis Presley is universal.
The legendary Flying Elvi were on hand to do a spectacular Elvis unveiling over the water. Is that your real hair?
This is on a good day. You should see it when I first wake up.
And so while the musicians did their best Elvis thing, the Flying Elvi went flying by, ready to unveil a huge Elvis poster over the water. Cousin Brucie pumped up the crowd, and electricity was in the air, literally. Because before the Elvi could present the king, the cloud burst. The rain washed away the day, and well, Elvis has left the building. All's well that ends well, I suppose, because the next day, Cousin Brucie and CBS-FM returned to the South Street Seaport and maybe a little less spectacularly unveiled these Elvis Presley stamps from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Gambia, and Guyana.
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a white cape and ducktail. Yes, it's Elvis, flying through the sky with the greatest of ease and landing on an outdoor postage stamp festival in New York City. Where else? 3 countries paid homage to the king, unveiling their new line of Elvis stamps. Along with a shower of skydiving Elvis impersonators, festival goers were treated to a tribute concert.
This is 7 News at 10 o'clock.
Big Apple played host to an array of Elvis Presleys today. The Elvis wannabes were all on hand to kick off the unveiling of 3 new Elvis Presley postage stamps. You might remember some of these guys from the Flying Elvis skydiving team.
The king of rock and roll will be spotted around the world, literally. 3 countries paid homage to Elvis Presley in New York this weekend by unveiling a new line of Presley stamps. There were also some Elvis parachutists there. Stamp collectors gathered at an outdoor postage stamp festival to look at the new stamps. Festival goers were also treated to the Elvis skydiving. Of course, he just dropped in. And a tribute to Elvis in concert.
Well, when it comes to postage, there is no doubt that the king still rules. 3 countries paid homage to Elvis yesterday with a new line of Elvis stamps. With Elvis now the airmail king, what better way to celebrate than with the Flying Elvi? Or is that the Elvises? The troupe of parachuting Elvises highlighted an international stamp festival in the Big Apple. And for you trivia buffs, today marks the date back in 1956 when Elvis made his first appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show.
All 3 countries paid homage to the king of rock and roll over the weekend.
All 3 countries unveiled their new line of Elvis Presley stamps. Stamp collectors from around the world gathered at an outdoor postage stamp festival in New York. Besides the unveiling of the stamps, festival goers were treated to an Elvis skydiving performance and an Elvis tribute concert.
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a white cape, and a ducktail. Huh? Yep. It's Elvis flying through the sky with the greatest of ease and landing on an outdoor postage stamp festival in New York. 3 countries paid homage to the king, unveiling their new line of Elvis stamps. Along with a shower of skydiving Elvis impersonators, festival goers were also treated to a tribute concert. Can't get enough of Elvis.
One of Elvis's former bodyguards even paid a visit. C.J. Charlton now makes a living keeping the king's music alive, not to mention his moves.
Finally this half hour, people all over the country paying tribute to the king. A new line of Elvis Presley stamps were unveiled this weekend in New York, and of course, a huge event to honor the king of rock and roll would not be complete without the world-famous Elvis skydivers. Stamp collectors at the festival were also treated to an Elvis tribute concert.
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Elvis. Actually, 10 Elvis impersonators were flying high above the East River at South Street Seaport today. The stunt show rocked the 1996 Stampfest, where the foreign Elvis stamp made its debut. Lucky all those guys were flying earlier. They would have gotten rain all over their blue suede shoes.
Yeah, we wish that was all of us coming out of the sky today, huh?
Finally, look up in the sky. It's not a bird and it's not a plane. It's a flying Elvis. The kings of sky jumping dropped in on the South Street Seaport yesterday. Call them the Elvi, the Flying Elvi. Stamp collectors were holding a festival there. 3 countries unveiled Elvis stamps. The U.S. was not one of them. There you have it. That's what's happening from the news desk.